So we're sitting with Kaushiki Chakraborty after she's just finished singing in her concert in Boston. Welcome, Kaushiki.
Thank you so much.
How do you feel after a concert?
I feel very light, I think, to say the least. Feel happy, of course, and I think light is the word. I really feel light. I really feel energized. And after a concert is when I feel that I can do another concert. So it's like I really feel much more alive than anything else after a concert.
Amazing. I think everybody in the audience feels the same. So what would you like to tell other singers? I am a singer, but after listening to you, I feel, what's the point? Because today I saw, as a vocalist and as a musician, as an artist, बोलते ना उत्तम स्थान है. You see a completely superlative display of talent, technique, skill and everything. What can you tell us? What should we do?
I can only tell what I should be doing because there's plenty, and you should have this interview with my dad for you to understand what all I need to do. So and that's I think the biggest reality check that I have, because I've been singing since I don't even know how many years now, because I don't have a conscious memory of when I started singing, because I have recordings when I was 3 years old, 3.5 years old, singing a tarana, maybe a bhajan or something like that, and paltas, of course, alankars.
3 years.
3.5. Did you say that? 3.5? Yeah. So that's why it feels a little weird when I see other 3-year-old kids, because I don't remember how I was when I was 3. But when I see other 3-year-old kids, I think it's a little funny that I was singing, and singing has been my hobby. I mean, I've never had a different hobby ever. But I think for anyone who's into a creative art field, I think first of all it has to start really early in their lives, before their heart and mind even knows how to get connected to anything else. Before you know what it is to have a best friend, you have your craft as your best friend. So I think that connection by default, without thinking about it, just spontaneously and just naturally spontaneously, if it happens, then I think that helps a lot.
So it's not going to help us.
And secondly, I think of course it feels good when listeners say that they've enjoyed a concert, but I think I have a very different parameter to how I judge my music, and how I think that where all it could have been better, what all I could have been, better in the sense more apt, more balanced, more. So I think I have my own thought process after every concert that okay, this is where I need to work on, and I think my parents have instilled this thing into my system that I've never had a compliment from my father or my mother. They've never even said कि आज का concert ठीक था. So इतना भी बोल देते बहुत अच्छा होता, but I've never had this. So okay is like the maximum that I could expect from my parents. So I know that I think my eternal hunger would be to sing a concert after which my parents would say, "You were good today."
Wow, spoken like a child. Any child is always trying to please their parents.
But I think now that I'm a mother and my child is growing up, I think now I don't want them to give me that compliment. I think I'm better off with this hunger, because then I have a constant inspiration to work on myself to get better. Because the day they say कि आज अच्छा हुआ, I think a part of my musician being will be satisfied. So that satisfaction, I don't want that to happen. I think I'm better off hungry.
Fantastic.
And so performances are fun. Of course, they're magic. They are, I really don't think that I've ever had an ownership to even, the better performances that I've ever given. because it's not me on stage. Trust me, I go on stage absolutely blank. I went to the sound check not knowing what rag I'm going to sing. I don't even tune my Sor Mandal because I need to know what rag I'm singing. So I asked Kedar ji, he said, श्याम कल्याण कभी आपका सुना नहीं, गाएंगे? पूरिया कल्याण सुना है, पूरिया कल्याण भी गा सकते हैं, लेकिन श्याम कल्याण कभी आपका सुना नहीं. मैंने कहा श्याम कल्याण गाते हैं. For yesterday's concert, I sang Marwa for the first time in my life, and that too without even, sitting in the morning, practicing Marwa. I've never, I didn't practice Marwa in the morning or maybe in the last couple of days. I just sang it because it's a weird feeling that you feel comfortable in a rag and then you start singing it. And so whatever happens, it just happens. So I don't do anything. So I really don't think that I don't have a right to have an ownership to the compliments that I get. So I think that's especially for youngsters who are loving the attention, the adulations, the wah-wah all around them. Of course, the younger ones, the younger people who are younger than me, it's my humble advice that the more you concentrate on what your inner voice is telling you after a performance, I think if you listen to that carefully and appreciate every appreciation that's coming, but go by that.
Amazing.
So I think that will kind of help one to. That's the best guidance that can lead us to where as musicians we need to go.
So today I saw you do some amazing things. You mixed words, you mixed tarana, you mixed sargam, you were teaching as you were singing. Is that your style, would you say? Because I have not seen many people do that. In one sense,
I don't know what's my style because I think it's also spontaneous. I have, when I learned from Baba, he has a very unique way of teaching. He wouldn't teach you one phrase and tell you, okay, now sing this phrase. So he will sing for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and he would want you to respond to it. So what happened in the process, and this is of course when I was, in an advanced level of learning rag and phrases of rag and the space of a rag. So to get comfortable in the space of a rag, I think that helped me a lot, because I think that helps anyone to find out your own, version, your own expression, your own style, your own, stylistical expression that is most spontaneous to yourself.
Right.
Because if you're told that you do this, do that, beyond the point, it becomes just a continuation of what you're being taught. But I think the teacher, the guru is the best one to know when the student is ready to take his or her own journey onwards. Then onwards, I think it's a very personal journey. It's a very private journey. And on stage, though we sing in front of hundreds and thousands, I think I'm very alone talking to myself and being in my space.
You're just exceptional. Just amazing. Is there anything that you've not been asked and you would like to tell or say anything in an interview?
I have been asked a couple of times, not too many times, but I think that's one important thing that I would like to talk about is,
please,
when we go for a concert, we sometimes know what gharana the musician belongs to, whose student, whose family, whose disciple, whatever. But I think it's about time, because with our generation I can see that gharanas and styles, it was always the same, but I don't know why we thought that, because if you consider 4 people from the same gharana, 4 excellently brilliant legends of that gharana, they have always had their unique style.
Right.
So it doesn't really mean that somebody belonging to a Jaipur gharana and somebody else who, both are unique in their own style, they will be same.
Right.
So I think it's about time now that we go for the experience rather than setting our own benchmarks that okay, Patiala Gharana means this, that means that. So Saraswati is a rag which is which is not generally sung in Patiala style.
Really?
Yeah, so Nand is a rag which Patiala Gharane mein bahut hi kam gaye hain. But I sing Nand, I really enjoy singing Nand. So, these divisions of what rag, which gharana. So I think it's about time, because with our generation, all kinds of music are available to us in a click of a mouse.
Right.
So we listen to all sorts of music, and whatever inspires us, I think we assimilate that, and it becomes a part of our subconscious. We don't cut paste from different styles, but it just becomes a part of yourself.
Right.
And then when you sing, it is a spontaneous expression of yourself, which has been inspired by many gharanas, many musicians.
Right.
So the gharanas, the styles are merging. Yes, you have your own identity, but that can be inspired by so many other musicians that we must have heard in our own journey. That's one thing. And secondly, I really would expect more and more female vocalists from my own generation. I think that we have more instrumentalists than vocalists when it comes to, in general, who are my contemporaries. Because when I go to a festival, I don't know if you have noticed or not, when you go to a festival, if you look at the names of the artists, always girls are a minority. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So if you go to a music school, you will see so many girls learning, as opposed to how many boys are learning in music school. But when it comes to the professional, lineup of a festival, music festival, I think you always end up seeing more boys and lesser girls. So I think the society has to be a little more extra supportive, so that girls can pursue this profession.
Right.
Because as a profession it is very demanding.
Right.
As a craft it is very demanding. It takes away all your time and attention beyond a point. So that's where I think family plays a very, very important role, and in inspiring a person to to give her the faith that she can go out and conquer the world, do whatever she wants to do. And I think that will have its own reflection in the gaiki itself. Because I think we expect a very timid, soft gaiki from a girl. And maybe because I've learned from a man, my gaiki has always been a balance of who I am and who I can be. So I think that potential is not gender specific. We all can be everything that we want to be.
You were everything on stage. Phenomenal. Thank you so much, Kaushiki. Anything else you would like to add?
Lovely speaking, and I don't think, it's maybe just after the concert, I don't think I've ever been so personal in an interview space.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. I just left it to you because you just come from the concert. You must have so many things going on in your mind.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing your personal thoughts with us.
Lovely talking.